What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the garage. It's starting to get hot here in Texas, and we got the OBS back in the garage going to work on the air conditioner. Now, I've never done air conditioning work before, so I'm going to try to teach myself as we go. I've bought a pile of parts and tools. We're going to check it out, see if we can figure this out. So I had a really cool neighbor help me get this truck air conditioner running back when I first bought it. We put it on the compressor, we vacuumed down the system, and it held pressure or vacuum for about 20 minutes, and we thought it was good. But it's an old truck. It's 35 plus years old. Seals go bad. It started not cooling again, so I tried putting some more freon in it recently, and while I was doing so, I noticed that this fitting back here going into the firewall, which I'm assuming is the evaporator under the dash, is it was leaking bad enough that I could see it coming out, and it was like spraying on my hand and making my hand frosty. So I pulled that apart. It was kind of loose. Checked the O-ring, made sure the O-ring was good, tightened it back up real good, but I lost all of my freon. So I bought a big pile of stuff, which I think is going to be everything to do this project. I'm going to try to teach myself how to do car air conditioning, and you guys are along for the ride. So let's check out what I bought, and then we'll get a game plan going. So this first box here, this first bag, is going to be just a set of seals. A little bit of everything sealed. It's like a kit. Pretty universal. I was looking at that seal, and it doesn't look bad. That was one of the locations that the neighbor and I had to take apart in order to get it working in the first place. So he put a new seal on it then. I think it just worked its way loose, or we didn't get it tight enough. So I think the seal is okay, but we'll find out soon once we put this vacuum unit on there and pull a vacuum on it and see how long it lasts. This box is going to be all the other stuff. A lot heavier than I expected it to be. I guess that's the compressor. Is it called a compressor when it doesn't compress, it vacuums? I don't know. Vacuum pump. We'll call it that. I'm going to get this thing opened up. I will put a link to this in the description of the video. It's just a kit off of Amazon. Nothing special. I did go with the 1/3 horsepower motor as opposed to the 1/4 horsepower motor. I don't know that it's a huge difference, but you know, more power is always good, right? So I went ahead and splurged for the slightly more powerful motor. Looks to be very well packed. It's a Vivo Home brand. It's a 4 CFM vacuum pump. It comes with all the gauges and everything. It also comes with a leak detector and apparently a really cool storage bag. I did not realize it was going to be this nice. This is pretty impressive so far. Oh wow. Got a lot of stuff in here. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's very well packed. Everything's boxed individually. It also comes with a leak detector. So I'm assuming this thing sniffs the air and can detect freon. And I will beep, I'm assuming, if there is a leak. So we got that guy. What is this? This is your gauge set. I don't know how to use these yet, but we're going to learn as we go. I do know generally that you've got your high side gauge, your low side gauge, and I understand what they do. I'm assuming this centerpiece is going to be where the vacuum pump goes. I don't know what the numbers mean, but like I said, we'll figure it out as we go. All the hoses associated with it. Blue for low, red for high, and the yellow, I'm assuming, is the vacuum. Some other fittings. It does R134, R22, R12. Some others. I don't see a list anywhere. It is on the ad on Facebook, on Amazon. Comes with a bunch of fittings that go along with that and some other quick connects. Those are really nice. this box should be the vacuum pump itself. Like I said, I went with the slightly more powerful 1/3 horsepower or 1/4 horsepower. And this stuff should be able to be used for residential air conditioning, vehicle air conditioning. Comes with vacuum pump oil, which is nice. And it looks, I mean, this thing is beefy. I did not expect such a robust unit, honestly. That's really nice. All right, so that's everything that came with the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up, get the gauges, hoses connected to the gauges, all of that good stuff, and see where we're at. I'll be back in just a minute, guys. Ambient temp here in the garage is right at 90 degrees, just for reference. All right, so we got these gauges connected up. Got the hoses all connected where I think they're supposed to be. I don't have a high side on this system. It's just there's not a port for it, so we're only using the low side. So that's connected to this unit here. This is the larger side hose that goes directly to the compressor. So that's going to be the low side line, and then this smaller hose here, that's the high pressure side that goes into the condenser in the grill. So this valve is open right now, but this valve is closed. So we're seeing this on the gauge, and I don't understand a lot about it. I've still got to do some more research, but from what I understand so far, you can see the numbers in there. I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't want to focus. There's a R12, R22, R134. So that's telling you what type of refrigerant you have in your system, and we're at 134A. And then the blue line around here is supposed to be the ambient temperature. And right now we have enough fluid in the system if it were to be about 70 degrees, but it's about 90 degrees, so it looks like we're a little low from the way I understand it right now. I'm going to do some more research, watch some videos. I'll be back to you guys. I know it's low. I just wanted to kind of get where it was, because I did put, after I fixed that one that I told you was leaking under there, I did have like a half a can of these, and I put it in there just to leave it for a few days. And the fact that it still has pressure tells me that hopefully the leak that I had there is fixed, because it hasn't bled out yet. But I've still got to figure out how to do the vacuum with the vacuum pump and actually let it set for like an hour and see if it holds. And then once we do that, we'll know for sure we can refill it. So I'm going to learn how to do that real quick, and then I'll be back. All right, so I learned a little more, and I learned that if there is any freon left in the system, you got to get that evacuated out at a shop, so that it's not off-gassed into the atmosphere, because it's not good for the environment. So I got that handled. We're back in the shop here. We've got the gauge zeroed out for the low side. We've got our hose connected to our vacuum pump. And from what I understand, we're going to turn this vacuum pump on. It's going to start pulling a vacuum on this hose. We're going to crack open this low side valve, and we're going to watch this needle here drop. We want it to hit that -30, or almost to that -30, and that tells us that it's a full vacuum. Once we get that done, once it hits that number, we can close this valve back off, and that'll seal the system, and we can let it set and allow us to see if there's any leaks. If it stays at 30 for like an hour, then there's pretty good possibility it's not leaking, at least not very big, and we're safe to refill it. If it does leak back down to 0, then we need to change some seals or tighten something up. So I'm going to get that started real quick, and then we'll see that needle drop and see what happens. All right, so the needle's come down pretty far. It's almost to the -30 line. Looking pretty good. I'm going to let it run a few more seconds just to make sure we've got everything out of the system before I close this valve. And then we'll take a little water break and make sure that it stays that way. All right, pump is off. Valve is closed. As you can see, it's almost to the 30. It's kind of hard to tell in the camera because you can't really get it dead on. It looks like it's a little below 30, but I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to give it about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, see if it moves, and we'll be back. All right, we're only about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes in, and as you can see, it's already dropped down to that first line there, which means we have a small leak, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and address where I know the leak was before, which is that connection back there to the firewall, to the evaporator. I want to go ahead and pull it apart, put a new seal on it. I got the seal kit here. We'll get a new seal put on it and see if that fixes it. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to put a little bit of a refrigerant in there so we can use this this leak detector, try to figure out what's going on. So take me a little while to get that piece apart and resealed, and then we will try it again. All right, got the O-ring out. As you can see, it's smashed pretty flat. It's got some, I don't know if you can focus on that, it's got some wrinkles in it. So we're going to get a new one out of here. It looks like this guy is probably going to be pretty close. The next one up's way too big. So we're going to drop that one in there. Looks like this 7/16, 3/32. Tighten everything back up. Re-vacuum down the system and see what happens. Got that seal replaced, and I'm feeling pretty optimistic here. So I turned the pump back on, and it shot down in pressure significantly faster than it did the first time. And it's now below 30, which it didn't do earlier. So I feel like that might have been a leak, and the more pressure we vacuumed on it, the more the leak was. So I'm going to let it sit now again for another 15 or 20 minutes and see if it stays below the 30. I've got this valve tightened up real good. Got the pump off. We're going to let it ride. We're going to see what happens. For you guys, it'll just be a second. I'll be back. We're almost 15 minutes in, and as you can see, we're still holding below negative 30. So that's a great sign. It looks like that was the leak. A slow leak, but still a leak. There's not a whole lot of volume in all of these hoses, so it's not actually evacuating a lot of air, so a small leak will make a difference pretty quickly. So I've been reading and watching more videos, and I've learned on this gauge, so you want to look at this PSI, and that's going to be, we don't have a high side connection on this truck for whatever reason. Typically you would look at the high side and you would hit about 200 to 250 PSI in there, but since we don't have a high side, we have to go on the low side. And there are plenty of charts all over the internet that will tell you the ambient temperature versus the pressure you need in the system. And right now, as we saw earlier, the ambient temperature in the garage is about 90 degrees. So we're looking at about 45 to 50 PSI. 45 to 55 PSI. I'm going to put the chart up right here so you can see. And then on this gauge, we're going to look at this PSI line, and this is 50 here. So we're shooting for right around that 50 area. I thought you could use this R134 circle and do temperature, but that's going to put us at about 50 degrees. Not 90 where it is out here, so I guess that's wrong. But all online says 45 to 55 PSI for 90 degree ambient temperature. So that's what we're going to shoot for. And just know that more freon does not make it colder. I wish it did because it's hot in Texas, but you got to get the right temperature or the right pressures for the right temperatures. If you do more, it's just going to make it not work as good. So don't overfill it. just get it where it needs to be and then let it ride. And I'm going to give it another probably 5 minutes or so, but it hasn't moved yet. I'm feeling pretty confident about it, so hopefully we can get this finished up and I can enjoy the air conditioner. All right, we've been here probably 20-25 minutes so far, and it's still below -30, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. The next step is going to be starting the refill process. So we're going to use this same yellow line that's on the compressor, or the evacuation pump, and we're going to start connecting it to these tanks. Now, I don't have the big tank like an AC Professional does. All I can get a hold of is these little guys. It's the same thing, just in smaller package. So we're going to get this set up real quick and start refilling this system. I'm pretty excited. Well, guys, had a little step back here. I realized I made a mistake. When I was working on fixing that back there, I had closed this valve for whatever reason. And so it wasn't actually evacuating the actual system, just this line. So I've reconnected everything and re-evacuated it back down to -30. And as you can see, it's not on -30 anymore. So it's got a small leak somewhere. And it's getting late in the day. I've got to get ready for dinner, so I'm not going to be able to fix it right now. Again, for you guys, it'll be pretty instantaneous, but for me, it's going to take me a day or two to get back to this, so we'll have to figure this one out. I will figure it out, just not right this second. So, see you guys in a minute. All right, decided to revisit this real quick before I went in. I don't have any other way to find the leak aside from the sniffer. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 can of Freon in here and get the system running so that I can use the sniffer to try to find the leak. It should beep and light up whenever it detects Freon. So that's the plan right now. All right, so we got this adapter that came with the kit. You want to make sure that this is screwed all the way out. There's a little needle point in there that punctures the can. You want to make sure that that's all the way in, so this is screwed all the way out. And then you're just going to screw it right onto the top of the can. And this makes it where you can connect these cans to that yellow hose. So it just screws on real easy right there. And then once you connect the hose, you can use this to punch the top of the can, and then we can start filling it up. Can is now connected, so you can go ahead and open this valve, puncturing the top of the can. Now you have to remember that this hose has air in it, and you don't want to put that air in your system. So what you're going to do is just open this center just a little bit until Freon comes out. And now we've evacuated all the air out of this hose, and it's all Freon, and we can start filling the system. Now you want to do this before you start the vehicle. You want to get a charge in the system, because none of the switches, the compressor, nothing will turn on right now without any pressure, and you don't want to run it dry. So we're going to have the can upside down so it gets the liquid side of the can, and we're going to go ahead and crack open this valve here, and it's going to start sending Freon into the system. Up until the pressure that's in this can. I'm letting it suck down this 1 can. Like I said earlier, you let it take 1 can totally to get enough pressure in the system to actually enable the compressor and everything to start running. So now with the actual valve open, you can see the Freon liquid is flowing into the system. We're up to about 60 psi, 50 psi right now without the truck running. So once I start the truck, it'll start pulling that liquid into the system. Can's about half empty now. You want to leave it upside down so that it pulls the liquid and not the gas side. So I'm going to go ahead and start the truck because it looks like it's kind of leveled out now. Finish off this can, and then we'll be able to use the sniffer to try to find the leak. Truck is now running. Can's getting emptier. It's getting cold to the touch. You can see the fluid flowing through the peephole there. Pressure's dropped slightly. That means that it's feeding this into the vehicle. See if we got any cold air at all. A little bit. It's colder than ambient, but it's not what you would consider air conditioned. Just cool. This can's almost empty. Yeah, you can see the pressure dropping now. The can's pretty much empty. I'm gonna go ahead and go get batteries for the sniffer. We'll see what we can find with it. Hopefully we can identify this leak, only sacrifice the one can, and fix it up. Fired up the leak detector there and checked all of these fittings. The fitting down there that I had the leak on. I checked all the crimps on the rubber hoses like this. I checked back here. I checked the connections inside the inside the grill right there. And I even probed around under the dash. I don't have the dash torn apart to get to the axle evaporator. That may be the next step, but I haven't found a leak yet. So far, there has been no obvious leak. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill up the system so that the air conditioner works, because it's too hot to not have air conditioner. And work on opening up the dash and trying to get to the evaporator later. I may have to do this all again, but at least I'll have air conditioner in the meantime, because it's not drivable in this weather without it, and I don't want to let the truck sit. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up, and we'll revisit when I have to tear the dash apart. Second can is on and going. I'm gonna go ahead and just complete this can. You can see it's flowing through the little peephole there. But the way you check your pressure is you close this blue valve and you see your needle will drop. And once it stabilizes, you know that's where your pressure is. So we're only about 25 PSI right now. And that can is almost empty. Got a little bit left in it. You see it in the peephole. Once that quits flowing, then we'll connect the next can up, and hopefully that'll get us close to where we need to be. Looks like it's empty, so off to the next one. Third can is now flowing, but if I close this valve, you can see the needle drops. Looks like about 40. So we're on the low end of where we need to be, 45 to 55. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more. Get it flowing again. About half through this can. I couldn't find on this panel how much it holds. It should be on this label right here, but I haven't found it yet, so it's about to suck this can dry too. So hopefully 3 cans is enough. At least it'll get us something. Yep, that one's empty. So let's close it off and see what we got. Yeah, we're still only about 40 PSI, so it looks like I'm gonna need at least one more can. That one doesn't have anything left in it. But this large hose should be cold to the touch, which it is. It's actually starting to condense a little bit. And then you got cold air coming out of your vent. So the air is working. It's just not optimal. It's blowing really cold right now for a 35-year-old vehicle. Gonna need at least another can, but I want to get the leak fixed first. So that'll get me by for now. In another video, we'll tear this dash apart, try to get to the condenser or the evaporator and see what's going on with it. But for now, we have air conditioning, which is a big plus here in Texas. Picked up one more can of freon here. We're gonna finish this off. So I'm just under the 50, right about 45. And our window for this one from the chart earlier, 45 to 55. So what I'm doing is just giving it a little bit at a time. So if I turn this knob, you'll see it starts flowing. I give it a little bit of flow. And then I stop and I check the pressure. We're still just under 50. This can's almost empty. So it's taking quite a bit. Looks like that's it on that can. So we're at the 45 mark, I think. So it should be good. Well, it didn't drop when I closed the valve, so that's it on that tank. So I'm in no way a professional with this. This is the first time I've ever done anything air conditioner related, so I'm having to get all of my information online. I'm sure some of you on here know better than I do about this, but the chart I found said 45 to 55 psi for R134A. But then I found some OBS specific stuff, mostly because this truck was originally an R12 truck and it was converted to R134A. And it says you don't want to go over like 40 psi. And it also said that the original volume for the air conditioner system in this truck was 40 ounces. But when you convert to R134, you start at 90% of that, which is about 30 ounces. And then you add a little bit at a time until you hit your pressures. These little cans are 12 ounces a piece. So I should have been over the 30 mark on the third can. I've now put 4 cans in there, which is well over what it said it needed. So, but the pressures aren't where the chart said they should be. I mean, it blows cold and everything's working as it should, but I don't know. I'm gonna, I guess, just let it ride, see what happens. As long as it's blowing cold, because it's hot. You can see I'm kind of sweaty. It's getting into the 90s already, early May. So this is going to finish this one up. I'm going to go ahead and put all these tools away. This kit's really nice. So far, I have not had any issues. Well, I can't say that. I have had small issues, and I'll show you what I mean. So the biggest issue I've had with this kit, aside from trying to figure out how it works, is these connections here. Just these little curled ends. You finger tighten them, but when you move this hose, it can untighten it and it'll start leaking. If it starts leaking, it introduces air into the system and then you got to start over. So I went ahead and tightened these with some channel locks because I don't plan on taking them off. Now, online, the videos I saw said to use this one to loosen, to release air out of this line so that you purge the air before you get to the freon. But under this cap here is a little, what looks like a tire pressure valve, like a Schrader valve. So what I've been doing is just hitting that with my thumb until freon comes out. And that seems to be working. That'll purge the air out, and then it's all freon going into the system. So that's really the only issues I've had so far. Everything else works great. The pumps work great. I have no complaints whatsoever for this kit. I'll put the description or the link down in the description for the video so you guys can check it out if you need one. But for now, that's going to finish this up. I'm going to get cleaned up. Thank you guys for hanging out with me out here in the garage. I really enjoy this type of projects. I enjoy learning new things, and it's really gratifying to be able to fix something yourself that you would typically have to take to a professional, to an AC guy or something like that. So it's really, I love this stuff. I love learning new things. Now I don't have to worry about it. I can do my own air conditioning as long as it's not the new 1234 stuff. So that's one more thing I can do that I don't have to take it to someone else. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff along the journey here and can apply this to your own vehicles and fix your own stuff. And if so, that's great. Really hope that I've helped you guys out. If you enjoy this content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I got a lot more coming. I've got 5 different vehicles I work on at any given time, and other projects around the house. So I plan to keep the content coming. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Y'all have a good one and rock on.